Hey guys, welcome to the Bitcoin Fortress podcast, helping you increase your financial freedom. This is episode 143, recorded here on November 24th, 2024. This podcast is for entertainment only and is not investing advice. So, as always, please do your own homework. All right, well, we'll get into the market news update outlook, get through the weekly top Bitcoin news, lots to talk about. And then we will feature this week's featured Bitcoin Fortress Substack post on the Bitaxe. And we'll finish with the shout outs. So, with that, we'll jump right in. Wall Street rebounded from last week's retreat with a nearly 2% advance over the last 5 days. And the benchmark S&P 500 is now only minus 0.8% from its record intraday high. It was a week marked by steady gains, geopolitical tensions arising from developments in the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, chip giant Nvidia's quarterly results, and a furious rally in Bitcoin that has seen the world's largest cryptocurrency flirt with the 100K milestone. Nvidia delivered quarterly revenue that nearly doubled year over year and data center revenue that climbed to a record $31 billion. However, the world's largest publicly listed company's current quarter revenue outlook came in lower than some of the loftiest expectations. And for investors used to an absolute blowout report that sent shares falling after hours on Wednesday. But the stock rebounded on Thursday and eventually ended higher, with analysts focusing on its exceptional numbers. Story of the week was no doubt Bitcoin. The cryptocurrency staged what looked like an inevitable march to 100K, though that level still seemed elusive at the time of writing, coming in as close as, I don't know, what is it now? 95,000, I guess. Bitcoin is fast cementing its place as one of the most prominent Trump trades following the Republican candidate's election victory. For the week, the S&P 500 climbed 1.7%, while the Nasdaq Composite also added 1.7%. The Dow gained 2%, and we will take a look at next week. Wall Street will observe a holiday shortened week due to Thanksgiving falling on Thursday. The stock market will close early on Friday. Market participants still have a fairly busy economic calendar to look forward to, especially on Wednesday, which will see a flood of releases in the form of initial jobless claims, an updated estimate on U.S. GDP growth, and the October personal income and outlays data. That report will also contain a reading on the core personal consumption expenditures price index, widely seen as the Federal Reserve's favorite inflation gauge. Speaking of the Fed, the minutes of its November Monetary Policy Committee meeting will be released on Tuesday. The odds of the central bank delivering another rate cut in December is now a toss-up, after Chair Jerome Powell 10 days ago said the economy was not, quote, sending any signals that we need to be in a hurry to lower rates. Turning to the earnings season, there are a few names on tap to announce their numbers, including Dell, CrowdStrike, and Analog Devices. Traders will also see high-profile IPO this week in the form of Chinese robo-taxi player Pony AI. The autonomous driving firm upsized its offering to 20 million American depositary shares and expects to price it between $11 and $13 each, aiming for a valuation of up to $4.6 billion. Okay, moving on to the Bitcoin news. This is block 871742, important news of the week, courtesy of No BS Bitcoin. Start your career in Bitcoin open source in 2025. Chaincode Labs is looking for individuals serious about a career in Bitcoin open source software. It offers a 3-month online software development program open to all levels, emphasizing passion, dedication, and rigorous technical training with minimal entry barriers. Application deadline is December 31st, 2024. The program is scheduled to start on January 13th. OpenSats issues third wave of Bitcoin education grants. Educational materials produced through these grants will be made available under permissive and open licenses, guaranteeing that they remain accessible to all. The latest grant recipients include BTC Map, a community-driven global directory of over 10,000 Bitcoin merchants using OpenStreetMap to simplify discovery and promote adoption. Yes, Bitcoin Haiti, building a circular Bitcoin economy in Haiti by educating, adopting merchants, and promoting financial inclusion for unbanked communities. Entropy Bitcoin Education Project makes Bitcoin learning fun and accessible worldwide through gamified workshops and open source tools. And finally, Bitcoin for All provides free multilingual video lessons in English, Spanish, and Portuguese to educate and support global Bitcoin literacy. OpenSats doubles down on Nostr. The organization has recently issued and extended additional grants to various Nostr projects, including Damus, Gossip, Nostr.build, Nostr SDK iOS, Ngit, and Git Workshop, Nostr Relay, Nostrocket, and DVM Dash. What is required is a neutral protocol, a protocol that is truly open in terms of usage and development alike, a protocol that does not discriminate, just like Bitcoin does not discriminate, was stated in a blog post. And you can contribute to OpenSat's Nostr Fund here, and there's a link in the article, which I will post in the show notes. Winners of Sats Hack Hackathon by Vintium. The second edition of the Sats Hack Hackathon took place at SatsConf 2024 in Brazil. You could find all of the hackathon submissions here, and there's a link. Best Fedi mod, Sing for Sats, is a Lightning-based app for karaoke parties. A web implementation is available here, and there's a link. Third place and best Nostr, Granola. It is the first exchange built on Cashew and Nostr, allowing for atomic cross-mint eCash swaps and offering privacy-first transactions across various currencies. Check out the project's demo here, and there is a link. Second place, best design and best pitch. Script Lab. It enables anyone to create Bitcoin scripts quickly and intuitively using drag and drop blocks and a chat assistant, thus unlocking new possibilities for Bitcoin developers. You can find the project GitHub repository here, and there is a link. First place and best open source contribution, Floresta mobile app built with the Floresta library. This app demonstrates Utrexo's potential to revolutionize self-sovereignty on the go. Wallets can act as fully verifying nodes using minimal resources. The app's APK is available here, and there is a link. Alby to sunset custodial wallet by January 4th, 2025. So pay attention if you have an Alby wallet. If you don't withdraw your funds by January 4th, 2025, your remaining balance will be converted into fee credits. This means those funds are now stuck in that ecosystem. So if you fail to sweep those funds in time, you might as well use them to spin up an Alby hub or pay for your first Lightning channel open, said the company. Coin Center's post-election policy outlook. Coin Center, a nonprofit focused on Bitcoin and digital asset policy issues, anticipates favorable policies in the areas of securities and banking regulation. However, the outlook is less certain regarding surveillance issues such as anti-money laundering, tax reporting, and sanctions. On Tuesday, Coin Center escalated its Tornado Cash dispute with the U.S. Treasury Department to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. The organization argues that the government exceeded its authority by sanctioning the virtual currency mixer Tornado Cash and unfairly preventing Americans from using the software tool. The government on appeal says the software published at the banned addresses is property, but the software is non-proprietary lines of code that no one on the planet can own, control, or alter in any way, said Jeffrey S. Hetzel, legal counsel for Coin Center. SEC Chair Gary Gensler announces resignation effective January 20th, 2025. Gary Gensler, the chairman of the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, has announced his intention to resign on January 20th, 2025. And actually, I found an interesting op-ed piece on that we will cover later on. Lawmakers urge FinCEN to finalize reporting requirements for cryptocurrency mixers. 7 Congress members have sent a letter to the U.S. Treasury to address tornado cash risks and prompt FinCEN to finalize crypto mixer regulations. FinCEN's 2023 proposal seeks to regulate mixers under the Patriot Act, requiring financial institutions to maintain detailed records of cryptocurrency transactions, including amounts, mixers used, wallet addresses, transaction hashes, dates, IPs, timestamps, and activity descriptions, reports The Rage. Donald Trump's proposed Crypto Advisory Council could set up a United States Bitcoin reserve. The proposed council, under the White House's National Economic Council, would shape digital asset policies, work with Congress, establish a Bitcoin reserve, and coordinate with the SEC and other financial agencies. According to Reuters, major crypto firms such as Ripple, A16Z, Kraken, and Circle are competing for seats on President-elect's advisory council to influence his planned overhaul of U.S. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency policies. A recent Wall Street Journal report also states that Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong met with Trump. In addition to the Crypto Advisory Council, Trump's transition team proposed a new White House role called Crypto Czar. Chris Giancarlo, the former head of the Commodities Future Trading Commission, is rumored to be a leading contender for this role. Trump urges Republicans to kill the Press Act, the Protect Reporters from Exploitative State Spying Act, or Press Act, is intended to enhance reporters' ability to protect confidential sources. It was unanimously approved by the Republican-controlled House in January and was expected to pass the Senate before the current congressional session ends next month. Howard Lutnick selected as Trump pick for Commerce Chief. Lutnick, the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, has been a vocal proponent of Bitcoin and Tether's Wall Street banker for years. Pennsylvania introduces the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Act. Republican Representative Mike Cabell introduced the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Act, HB 2664, in the state house, permitting Pennsylvania to allocate up to 10% of state funds to Bitcoin. Similar bills are pending in 10 other states, reports Atlas 21. Polish presidential candidate Sławomir Mencen pledges to establish strategic Bitcoin reserve if elected in 2025. His vision includes lower taxes, supportive banking regulations, and creating a crypto-friendly environment for businesses. Huh, that sounds familiar. Screven County, Georgia, became the first county in the United States to use the Bitcoin blockchain to safeguard the results of its elections. On November 5th, 2024, the Board of Elections partnered with Simple Proof, and there's a link in the article to that if you want to learn more about that company, a U.S. company that secures digital records with the Bitcoin blockchain, ensuring results remain unaltered, reports Frank Corva. Netherlands central bank pressures web shops selling fiat to crypto gift cards. Regulators at De Nederlandsche Bank issued warnings to 10 web shops instructing them to cease dealing with euro and dollar gift cards redeemable in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. While the regulator admits it has no evidence of money laundering through these means, it claims that such activities are, quote, possible and that they see, quote, the back doors open for such activities. Bitfinex hackers receive their sentences. Ilya Lichtenstein, 35, has been sentenced to 5 years in federal prison for his involvement in a money laundering conspiracy arising from the hack and theft of approximately 120,000 Bitcoin. His wife, Heather Morgan, was sentenced to 18 months in prison for her role in the hack. U.S. purchased Pegasus spyware for Colombia in an $11 million deal. According to a press release from the Embassy of Colombia, the United States supplied $11 million in cash to purchase the Pegasus surveillance software. This investment was aimed at assisting in the fight against drug cartels in Colombia and Mexico. However, it is still unclear why the U.S. government participated in this sale and whether taxpayer funds were used for the transaction, reports The Rage. Anchor Watch becomes a Lloyd's of London cover holder. The company will launch in December 2024 with up to 100 million binding authority per customer, securing the wealth of American retail and institutional investors. We are proud to be at the forefront of transforming Bitcoin custody with Trident Vault's advanced security features and its pairing with coverage from Lloyd's of London syndicates. Until now, individuals and businesses face the difficult decision between uninsured custody or third-party policies, often valued at mere fractions of a cent per dollar in custody. AnchorWatch changes the game by providing true insured Bitcoin custody, said AnchorWatch co-founder and CEO Rob Hamilton. We'll get into this one in a little bit more detail, but MicroStrategy bought 51,780 Bitcoin for $4.6 billion and now owns 331,200 Bitcoin, acquired for $16.5 billion at an average price of $49,870 per coin. The company also announced plans to raise additional $1.7 billion, $1.75 billion to acquire additional Bitcoin and for general corporate purposes. The organization has also successfully completed its previously announced issuance of $3 billion in 0%, yes, you heard that right, 0% convertible senior notes set to mature in 2029. The funds raised will be allocated for further Bitcoin purchases. MicroStrategy is now a top 100 U.S. public company by market cap. In 2024, the company's shares surged over 500% year to date and outperformed NVIDIA over 5 years, gaining 2,739% versus NVIDIA's 2,688%. This growth occurred despite MicroStrategy adopting Bitcoin as a treasury asset only in August 2020, while Bitcoin itself increased over 100% in the same period. In related news, MicroStrategy's chairman, Michael Saylor, is going to pitch Bitcoin to the board of directors at Microsoft Corporation. He's also offering Bitcoin strategy advice to Rumble CEO Chris Pavlovski. Semler Scientific acquired 215 Bitcoin for $17.7 million. The company's total holdings of 1,273 Bitcoin were purchased for $88.7 million at an average price of $69,682 per coin. Thumbs Up Media Corporation approved a $1 million Bitcoin strategy plan. Thumbs Up, a leading social media branding firm, announced its entry into Bitcoin as the company's board has authorized a plan to buy up to $1 million in Bitcoin for treasury reserves. MetaPlanet snaps up an additional 124 Bitcoin. The company purchased 124 Bitcoin a day after issuing 1-year ordinary bonds totaling 1.75 billion yen, or $11.3 million, with an annual interest rate of 0.36%. Since April, MetaPlanet has accumulated 1,142 Bitcoin valued at $92.33 million. Mara Holdings raises $700 million, buys 5,771 Bitcoin. That's a Bitcoin mining company. The company is now holding 33,875 Bitcoin and has 35% BTC yield per share. Cosmos Health added Bitcoin to its treasury. A Chicago-based global healthcare group issued a press release stating that it has adopted a strategy to include Bitcoin and Ethereum as part of its treasury reserve assets. Oth Therapeutics and Acurx Pharmaceuticals allocate $1 million to Bitcoin. Each company has announced plans to allocate $1 million to Bitcoin as part of their treasury strategies, reports BTC Times. Chinese electric car manufacturer Kaizen Holdings enters Bitcoin mining. The company acquired a Middle Eastern mining facility to leverage efficient Bitcoin equipment and access to reliable, cost-effective energy. Russia to ban Bitcoin mining in several regions, including occupied territories of Ukraine. Authorities in Russia announced plans to restrict Bitcoin mining in regions like Irkutsk, Buryatia, Zabaikalsky, and 6 northern Caucasus regions, including Chechnya and Dagestan, and occupied Ukrainian regions Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, to address winter electricity shortages. Russia legalized Bitcoin and other digital asset mining in July, effective November 1st, but now plans to ban it just 18 days later. The country's authorities are also considering taxing personal income from Bitcoin and other digital currencies at a 15% rate. BTC and DC conference to take place in September 2025. The event will explore Bitcoin's role in finance and its regulatory impact, reports BTC Times. And BTC Hell conference to take place in Finland on August 15th to 16th, 2025. This event is set to be the first ever large-scale Bitcoin conference in the Nordics. Learn more about it here, and there is a link. Moving on to the Hodler's Digest for November 17th through 23, we will try to skip over the shitcoinery. Let's see. First article, Solana ETF regulatory filings flood in as Gensler sets departure date. Don't care. The FTX bankruptcy estate updated its timeline for creditor and former customer reimbursements, which should be finalized in January 2025, with initial payouts expected in March 2025. According to a November 21st announcement from the collapsed crypto exchange, FTX will arrange reimbursement payments in early December with distribution agents who will handle the payout process and manage the customer payout portal. John J. Ray III, the interim CEO presiding over the FTX bankruptcy, said, "While we continue to take actions to maximize recoveries, we are full steam ahead to reach arrangements with our distribution agents and return proceeds to creditors and customers as quickly as possible." As we learned earlier, United States Securities and Exchange Commission SEC Chair Gary Gensler, known for his hardline stance on cryptocurrency regulation, will depart from the agency on January 20th, 2025, which he announced in a November 21st announcement. Gensler will leave the agency on the same day crypto-friendly President-elect Donald Trump starts his second presidential term, according to the announcement. "It's been an honor of a lifetime to serve with them on behalf of everyday Americans and ensure that our capital markets remain the best in the world," Gensler said in a statement. In July, Trump vowed to fire Gensler in a bid to woo crypto enthusiasts ahead of the November 5th U.S. presidential election. The president has the authority to select a chair to head the SEC, but he cannot force a commissioner to leave the agency entirely, as Gensler plans to do in January. MicroStrategy has completed a $3 billion offering of 0% convertible senior notes due in December 2029, with plans to use a portion or all of the proceeds to buy more Bitcoin. Business intelligence firm announced the completion as its shares retraced more than 25% on November 21st, Google Finance data shows. The convertible senior notes came in at a 55% premium with an implied strike price of around $672 per share, a predetermined price at which an option holder can buy or sell MicroStrategy's Class A common stock. The 0% senior convertible note means it will not pay regular interest to bondholders. These convertibles are sold at a discount and will instead mature to face value if they are not converted prior to the maturity date. Brian Armstrong, the CEO of United States-based cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase, will reportedly meet with Donald Trump as the president-elect continues to announce staff picks for his administration and the heads of government departments. According to a November 18th Wall Street Journal report, Trump intended to meet privately with Armstrong to discuss personnel appointments. The Coinbase CEO did not appear to have donated directly to the Republicans' 2024 campaign or political action committees directly supporting him, but said before the U.S. election the crypto exchange would be prepared to work with the Trump administration. It's unclear whether Armstrong or a Coinbase employee could potentially have a role in the next U.S. president's administration. And FUD of the week, South Korean virtual asset deposit platform Delio was declared bankruptcy by a court in Seoul on November 22nd, according to multiple local press reports. Delio, which owes customers 245 billion won or $1.7 billion, halted withdrawals last year. Delio will begin liquidation proceedings. Customers can make claims through February 21st, 2025, and the first creditors meeting will be held on March 19th, 2025. Reports quote a court official as saying the debtor leased and entrusted the management of customer deposit virtual assets to the management company, but a large part of it was deposited and managed in the FTX account. Oops. Don't trust the exchanges. Crypto phishing scammers are apparently earning five-figure weekly incomes by impersonating Coinbase support and using leaked data to target high-ranking crypto executives and software engineers. Nick Newman, CEO and co-founder of Bitcoin self-custody solutions provider Casa, said he was recently called by a Coinbase support scammer and found out more than expected after he decided to turn the tables on him and ask him about being a scammer. We make a minimum of five figures a week. We hit 35K 2 days ago. We do it for a reason. There is money to be made in it, responded the scammer when asked how much they made. Newman posted the conversation in a video on X on November 20th, in which the scammer orchestrated the attack by stating that a password change request had been canceled and a notification had been sent. United States prosecutors charged five people with being part of a group that hacked dozens of businesses and individuals to steal $11 million in crypto and sensitive information. The United States Attorney's Office for the Central District of California said on November 20th that the defendants sent SMS phishing links or SIM swapped individuals and employees of certain companies to steal login credentials to their work or crypto exchange accounts. Court documents seen by Cointelegraph detailed at least 29 alleged individual crypto theft victims. Prosecutors claim one victim was robbed of more than $6.3 million worth of crypto after having their email and wallets breached. And that wraps that up. Next up from Bitcoin.com news, this was posted 3 days ago. A little bit more detail on the MicroStrategy completing the $3 billion debt offering and the decline in its shares. MicroStrategy, known for its significant Bitcoin investments, has completed a $3 billion offering of convertible senior notes due in 2029. The debt sale included an option for initial buyers to purchase an extra $400 million, which was exercised in full. The press statement said that these notes, sold privately to qualified institutional buyers, do not bear regular interest and are convertible into cash, MicroStrategy stock, or a combination of both. Conversion rates are set at 1.4872 shares per $1,000 of principal, reflecting a 55% premium over the company's recent stock price. The latest offering is part of MicroStrategy's ongoing strategy to increase its Bitcoin reserves. The company first adopted Bitcoin as a primary treasury reserve asset in 2020, citing its potential as digital capital and store value. Today, MicroStrategy's total Bitcoin holdings stand at 331,200 Bitcoin, valued at approximately $32.519 billion at current market rates. The company's Bitcoin-focused strategy has been financed through a combination of equity and debt offerings alongside cash flows from operations. While its approach has drawn both praise and scrutiny, MicroStrategy has maintained its stance on Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation and a cornerstone of its corporate strategy. The convertible notes maturing in December 2029 allow MicroStrategy to redeem them under certain conditions beginning in December 2026. The company reported $2.97 billion in net proceeds after deducting fees and expenses from the offering. MicroStrategy's aggressive Bitcoin acquisition strategy highlights its role as a major player in the cryptocurrency sector, blending its enterprise analytics business with a growing digital asset portfolio. Shares of MicroStrategy slid 16% as the trading day wrapped up on November 21st, reflecting a sharp turn in investor sentiment. And actually, I think there was a short short seller report that came out that probably had something to do with that too. Since the stock was getting pretty frothy, I think it was getting close to $500 a share or something like that. Next up from CoinDesk, this was posted on November 22nd. Trump picks pro crypto hedge fund manager Scott Bessent for Treasury Secretary. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump named hedge fund manager Scott Bessent, a cryptocurrency enthusiast, as his pick for Treasury Secretary. If the Senate confirms him, the next person whose signature adorns U.S. paper currency will be a fan of the digital currency ecosystem set up to replace the conventional financial system. Bessent runs Key Square Group, a macro investing firm. He worked for prominent investor George Soros 3 decades ago and was, according to the Wall Street Journal, one of the driving forces behind Soros Fund Management's famous bet that netted a more than $1 billion profit that the British pound would collapse. Bitcoin and crypto as a whole are now in his sights. I've been excited about Trump's embrace of crypto, and I think it fits very well with the Republican Party, the ethos of it. Crypto is about freedom, and the crypto economy is here to stay, he said in an interview with Fox Business in July. Crypto is bringing in young people, people who have not participated in markets. Polymarket traders had bet that he was a front runner. At one point, Cantor Fitzgerald CEO Howard Lutnick was viewed as one too, but he was ultimately picked as Commerce Secretary. Lutnick has also dabbled in digital assets, helping stablecoin issuer Tether manage the giant stockpile of U.S. Treasuries that back its USDT stablecoin since 2021. And in related news, Cantor Fitzgerald agrees to acquire 5% stake in Tether for up to $600 million, according to a report. This is pretty interesting. Financial services firm Cantor Fitzgerald reportedly agreed to a 5% stake in stablecoin issuer Tether in the past year, which could position the company to receive more political support from the incoming Trump administration. The 5% stake was reportedly valued up to $600 million when the agreement was made, Wall Street Journal said on the November 24th report, citing information from business associates familiar with the matter. It could mean Tether receives more political support as Cantor Fitzgerald's CEO Howard Lutnick was selected as United States President-elect Donald Trump's Secretary of Commerce on November 19th. Giancarlo Devasini, suspected to be the largest shareholder of Tether, reportedly said words to the effect of, Lutnick will use his political clout to try to defuse threats facing Tether, Wall Street Journal claimed. Lutnick is already working closely with Trump as one of his transition advisors. There, he has been vetting candidates for other top government jobs that could involve supervising Tether, Wall Street Journal noted. Lutnick said he would step down as Cantor Fitzgerald's CEO upon Senate confirmation. It follows reports that the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York has been investigating whether Tether is being used by third parties for illicit activities such as terrorism financing. Cantor Fitzgerald has been one of Tether's most important banking partners at a time when the stablecoin issuer has been cut off by many banks around the world. The Lutnick-led firm holds most of Tether's $134 billion reserves, largely in U.S. Treasury bills. Lutnick has publicly expressed confidence in Tether's financial health several times and highlighted the important role that a US dollar-backed stablecoin can play for people in high inflation countries like Argentina, Turkey, and Venezuela. He also announced Cantor Fitzgerald's new Bitcoin lending program at the Bitcoin 2024 conference back in July. We will offer leverage to those who own Bitcoin. We are going to launch with $2 billion of lending, Lutnick said at the time. Cantor Fitzgerald currently holds around $3.5 billion worth of assets, according to Fintel data. Lutnick said Wednesday he will step down from his position at Cantor. Next up is an opinion piece by Aaron Van Weerdum from Bitcoin Magazine. This was posted on November 22nd. And it's titled, Gary Gensler's Departure is No Triumph for Bitcoin. So I thought this would be an interesting take. As I've explained previously, I don't think Donald Trump actually gives a damn about Bitcoin. At best, he's a shitcoiner who wants in on the scam. Having said that, it's fair to say that Trump adopted a pro-crypto stance during his campaign, and indeed, his promise at Bitcoin 2024 to fire Gary Gensler on day one of his presidency seems to have already resulted in SEC chairman announcing his resignation. An optimistic scenario, as for example suggested by Trey Walsh, is one in which the Democrats now also adopt Bitcoin as part of their party platform, but given how many other seemingly neutral topics get unnecessarily politicized, the COVID vaccines are perhaps the best recent example of this, I wouldn't be surprised to see the opposite happen. As the upcoming Trump administration is gearing up to establish a regulatory landscape facilitating full-on anything goes multi-coinery, and with Gary Gensler gone, we could well see the most atrocious scam coins proliferate and soar before they inevitably implode. And as people over the next 4 years get rug pulled, dumped on, and otherwise defrauded, I could also easily imagine a political response from the other side of the aisle that fails to recognize the distinction between Bitcoin and the world liberty financials of the world altogether. They could turn against all of cryptocurrency even more than they already have, Bitcoin not excluded. Of course, this is all speculation. I have no crystal ball here, but in a few years from now, Bitcoiners might find themselves in between polarized positions from both major American political parties. No coiners to the left of me, shitcoiners to the right. Here I am stuck in the middle with you. Uh, can't can't deny that. It's certainly a possibility, and there's still, unfortunately, an awful lot of shitcoinery going on. Don't shitcoin, folks. Just buy and hold Bitcoin in cold storage and touch grass. Next up from BitcoinNews.com. This is articles entitled "A Bitcoin Adventure in El Salvador: Highlights from the Adopting Bitcoin 2024." This is posted on November 23rd. I was thrilled to be asked to speak at the Adopting Bitcoin 2024 conference in El Salvador, and this is a guy by the name of Scott Bessent. It was my first opportunity to visit to the country and see how the Bitcoin is working on the ground with my own eyes. The conference and the country did not disappoint. The venue at Salamanca Eventos was first class, and multiple stages facilitated a constant stream of speakers and workshops. The event center was nestled in the jungle and provided stunning vistas while being just outside of the hustle and bustle of San Salvador without being too far to be practical. It was a truly global conference with speakers and guests from all over the world. There was also a strong contingent of local Salvadorians and a good amount of Spanish content. There was also plenty of stuff to do: a marketplace, great coffee, an incredible barbecue, which has been consistent everywhere I've been in El Salvador. I also stumbled upon a beautiful auction gallery highlighted by fractal. Speaker portraits were a thoughtful gift from TJ Murphy. The conference agenda was jam-packed, so much that I had a hard time seeing every speech I wanted to see. A couple personal favorites of mine were the discussion of CBDCs by Efrat Fenixon and Jesus is a Bitcoiner by Adam O'Brien. My personal highlight was Dr. Jack Cruz, who delivered a compelling talk on the concept of time preference. He explained its impact on individual health and how the Salvadorian government is integrating these ideas into its national healthcare strategy. It was an eye-opening moment to see how, in practice, adopting Bitcoin involves far more than just fixing the money. Lowering time preference is a mindset. Once embraced, it permeates every aspect of life. There were plenty of satellite events and something to do every night, including an epic after-party hosted by Plan B Network. The spendability of Bitcoin in El Salvador exceeded my expectations. Though not everyone accepted it, I was able to pay for my visa upon arrival, and in the city, I found it relatively easy to locate businesses that accept Bitcoin. There are some great local Bitcoin businesses like BitDriver, who are great for organizing travel at competitive rates, and plenty of places to stay using AirBTC. While not everyone uses it, Bitcoin has become quite common, and most people seem to have the ability to engage with it. As a model for how Bitcoin can be integrated into a country's economy, it appears that El Salvador is showing promising early returns. After the conference, I went to El Zonte to experience other parts of the country and see for myself how more Bitcoin oriented communities were functioning in practice. Truly, El Zonte had to be one of the easiest places to survive on Bitcoin in the entire world. Even the fruit market was happy to take sats. It is also an absolutely beautiful place worth visiting, Bitcoin or not. I had several interesting conversations with local business owners who accepted Bitcoin and expressed negative views about Bitcoin saviors coming to their thriving surf town and attempting to rebrand it. This was a valuable reminder that Bitcoin is integrating into a country with a rich and complex history. While El Salvador may have struggled with its currency in recent years, El Zonte remains, in many ways, the same town it has always been. As Bitcoiners travel the world spreading Satoshi's vision, it's important to remember that Bitcoin adoption is happening whether people like it or not. Even when Bitcoin brings tangible benefits, it doesn't mean everyone will automatically embrace it. Bitcoin is a complicated concept for those trying to grasp it, and economics can feel abstract. Even in a community like El Zonte, the benefits of Bitcoin may not be obvious to everyone. The Bitcoin economy in El Salvador appears to be evolving fast. Having seen it firsthand, I will be excited to see how quickly it progresses in the coming years. Adopting Bitcoin put on an excellent show, and I look forward to going back next year. If you're interested to see El Salvador for yourself, the 2025 conference is a great reason to plan a trip. I hope to see you there. And then it says, get your tickets for 2025 here, and there's a link. And he also has a link to his talk if you're interested in that. And links to the main stage full streams are available for day one and day two, also in the article. And I will put links to everything I go over in the show notes, as always. Finally, found a interesting summary of even more interesting talk that Michael Saylor gave recently. And so I thought I'd run through this really quick before we wrap up. So Bitcoin as digital capital, Michael Saylor's vision for a $500 trillion economy. The November 14th, 2024 podcast from MicroStrategy features Michael Saylor's recent talk at the recent Cantor Fitzgerald conference in Miami. His presentation underscores Bitcoin's transformative potential as digital capital, offering unmatched capabilities for preserving wealth, addressing systemic inefficiencies, and positioning the U.S. for economic leadership. By advocating for a strategic Bitcoin reserve and the tokenization of financial assets, Saylor presents a roadmap for unlocking a $500 trillion digital asset economy. His insights provide actionable guidance for policymakers, investors, and institutions navigating this paradigm shift. Some key messages: Bitcoin's performance advantage. Bitcoin consistently outperforms traditional assets, making it an ideal store of value for long term capital preservation. Strategic Bitcoin reserve. US adoption of a Bitcoin reserve can stabilize national debt and attract global capital, ensuring economic leadership. Tokenization opportunity. The tokenization of equity, bonds, and real estate could unlock trillions in untapped capital and democratize access to financial systems. Regulatory action. Clear frameworks for digital assets are critical to fostering innovation and enabling widespread institutional adoption. Geopolitical implications. Bitcoin's adoption presents a strategic opportunity for the US to maintain global dominance while attracting wealth from less stable economies. Michael Saylor's presentation identifies inflation and entropy as critical challenges to traditional asset preservation. He argues that Bitcoin's digital nature makes it uniquely suited for long-term capital preservation, outperforming traditional instruments like gold, bonds, and real estate. He positions Bitcoin as the ultimate low correlation, high return asset for institutional portfolios. Saylor's proposal for a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve is the central theme. He explains how such an initiative could address national debt while solidifying the U.S. dollar's primacy. By attracting global wealth, Bitcoin adoption could ensure U.S. economic dominance for decades. He frames this as a low risk, high reward strategy with asymmetric benefits. His talk extends to inefficiencies in the traditional capital markets. Saylor critiques their exclusionary structures and advocates for tokenizing financial assets to unlock $500 trillion in global capital. This transformation could democratize access and replace antiquated systems with faster, more inclusive digital markets. Concluding, Saylor envisions Bitcoin as the cornerstone of a 21st century digital economy. He emphasizes that immediate regulatory action is essential to enable these opportunities and warns of the risks posed by inaction. Some stakeholder perspectives: institutional investors, Bitcoin's performance and low correlation make it attractive, but regulatory clarity is needed for broader adoption. Policymakers, a strategic Bitcoin reserve could stabilize debt and cement economic leadership, but requires careful risk management. Technology developers, innovations in blockchain infrastructure are essential to support and secure integration of tokenized markets. Small businesses, tokenized markets could provide unprecedented access to capital, addressing barriers in traditional systems. and then global economies. Competing nations view Bitcoin adoption as an opportunity to challenge US dominance, necessitating swift action. Michael Saylor's insights highlight Bitcoin's potential to address systemic inefficiencies in global finance. A strategic Bitcoin reserve could stabilize US debt, attract global wealth, and ensure long term economic leadership. Policymakers must act quickly to establish regulatory clarity, enabling these opportunities. The tokenization of financial assets promises to democratize access to capital markets, unlocking trillions in global value. However, realizing this vision requires advancements in technology and robust security measures. Failure to act could allow other nations to seize leadership in the digital economy. The future of Bitcoin lies in its integration into global financial systems. A U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve could catalyze this transformation, stabilizing the economy and securing a competitive edge. Swift regulatory action is vital to ensure Bitcoin's role as the backbone of a new digital economy. The tokenization of capital assets will redefine global finance, enabling faster and more inclusive markets. To achieve this, policymakers and technology developers must address challenges in scalability and security. The US has a limited window to lead this transition and shape the future of global economic systems. Some information gaps. How can regulatory frameworks for digital assets be structured to encourage institutional adoption while ensuring consumer protection? Regulatory clarity is essential for scaling Bitcoin adoption and mitigating risks. This question explores how balanced policies can unlock growth while safeguarding participants. What are the geopolitical implications of nations adopting Bitcoin as a reserve asset, and how might this reshape global economic power dynamics? Bitcoin's potential to attract global wealth could redefine power structures. Addressing this question provides insight into future economic and political alignments. What are the most effective strategies for mitigating Bitcoin's market liquidity challenges and institutional interest grows? Liquidity constraints risk limiting Bitcoin's adoption. Researching solutions is vital to ensuring scalability and stability in a growing market. How can tokenized capital markets democratize access to global financial systems, particularly for small businesses and underrepresented populations? Tokenization has the potential to revolutionize financial inclusivity. Exploring this can uncover pathways for broader access to capital and economic participation. And finally, what technological innovations are required to support the secure and scalable integration of tokenized assets into existing financial systems? Infrastructure challenges remain a bottleneck. Understanding necessary innovations is key to realizing Bitcoin's potential in global markets. Some broader implications for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's ability to serve as digital capital redefines global financial systems, replacing traditional asset structures with decentralized tokenized alternatives. This shift could unlock trillions of dollars in untapped value, creating more efficient and inclusive markets by reducing reliance on intermediaries. Bitcoin and tokenization lower barriers to participation, empowering individuals and small businesses worldwide. Adopting Bitcoin as a reserve asset positions nations to attract global wealth, reshaping economic power dynamics. The US, through its strategic Bitcoin reserve, can secure its economic dominance while countering inflation and systemic risks. However, other nations accelerating their adoption risk, creating a competitive global race for Bitcoin reserves and associated capital flows. Clarity in digital asset regulation is essential to foster innovation and protect investors. Countries that implement balanced frameworks will lead in attracting institutional investments and driving economic growth. Failure to regulate effectively risks stifling progress and ceding leadership to more agile economies. Bitcoin's structural advantages over physical and financial assets make it the ultimate tool for long term wealth preservation. Its resistance to inflation and entropy addresses systemic challenges that traditional assets cannot solve. This paradigm shift ensures individuals and institutions can secure their capital for generations. And finally, the tokenization of assets demands robust blockchain technology capable of supporting high volumes and securing digital transactions. Investment in scalable and secure platforms is critical to integrating Bitcoin into existing financial systems. These advancements will enable widespread adoption and position Bitcoin at the center of a digitally driven economy. So interesting. There's also a link to the video in here if you want to watch the whole thing. Finally, wanted to highlight this week's featured post on Bitcoin Fortress Substack. Article is entitled Embracing Decentralization with Solo Home Mining and the Bitaxe Miner, something I've gotten into myself. I actually have two running in my house right now, and it's a lot of fun. Check it out. And finally, weekly top boost on Fountain at God's Death with 536 sats. Thank you, sir. And with that, I will thank you for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please like and leave a comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode. You can also follow my Substack located at bitcoinfortress.substack.com. And you can follow me on Nostr. My imp is in the show notes. And with that, I will talk to y'all next week. And if you celebrate, happy Thanksgiving. Bye bye.